Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk about a little controversial topic. I wouldn't call it controversial, a topic which is very interesting, provided you're willing to apply your mind and learn about funds. When you are planning your portfolio over a period of time, let's say you're a working executive about 40-45 years of age and you have 4-5 goals for which you are investing. This normally happens. So you have a goal which is 2 years to go, one goal which is 5 years to go, one goal which is 9 years to go, and one goal which is say 16-17 years to go. You have 4 goals, so fairly obvious for each one you've created a separate portfolio. Personally, I don't do that. I'm just into equity, so it is very different, but I can tell you how this works. The money that you require in 2 years has got to be at least 90% in ultra short bond fund and 10% perhaps in equity, saying okay, if a kicker comes it's great, otherwise this 90% will also grow at 7% every year, so 7 plus 7 over 2 years it will cross 100. I am not really worried too much about it. So that is the kind of take that you should have. But the money which you require over a 5-year period can be a little more aggressive and can be 20-30% in equity, and the balance can be in ultra short bond fund, and say liquid fund. You don't need to be really in liquid fund if it's a 5-year horizon, but just in case you want to transfer something every month, like a systematic withdrawal from your equity, that's also not a bad idea. So some liquid also. As you go to 9 years, you can go 60-70% or at least say 60-70% in equity and the balance in ultra short bond fund. And then when you have a goal which is say 17-18 years, then you go 100% in equity and you think about when to rebalance only in the 13th year or 12th year, right? You don't really have to worry too much. Or you start saying, okay, in the 12th year the market is doing very well, I've almost reached my goal, so I will remove 50-60% and put it into ultra short bond fund, because I'm going to, anyway, I already have the money, I don't need to take risk. The ability to take risk may be there, but the need to take risk for that particular goal is gone. You don't have to take risk for that goal. That goal money is already in your pocket. You don't have to then take any chances with that money. So this, having said this, you have to now create a core and satellite portfolio. So let me just look at the longish goal that you have. You have a 17-year goal for which you have to create a core and satellite portfolio. When you create a core and satellite portfolio, there are 2-3 questions which you have to answer, and I have to only ask. It is for you to answer these questions for yourself, because each person's answer is going to be different, and I am not here to judge, right? So it's like if I ask you to draw an elephant, I'm sure each person will draw it very differently, but that's your elephant, right? I'm not saying as long as you write the elephant and everybody knows it's an elephant, that's fine. Somebody may be good artist, somebody may not be, but I'm not getting into that. I'm saying something very simple. In the portfolio for 17 years, you have a core portfolio and you will have satellite portfolio. Now, what should be the core portfolio? Again, not a question which I am answering, but say 10 years back, the core portfolio was always thought to be a blue chip kind of a fund. It is large cap, it is blue chip, it is regular paying dividend in its portfolio of shares. Very good company, so I don't have to worry. It will not give me any fluctuation. So 60% or 50% should be that, and the balance I will fill up with some small cap, mid cap, IT, pharma, or all those will not be my core. This will be my core. Whenever I need to look at my portfolio, I need to see how is this 50-60% doing, and if the value goes to say 70%, then removing some money from core and putting it in satellite. So this is how it should be. Now there are 2-3 questions. One is, what should be the core portfolio? I think the answer is also changing. So for a very young person, maybe 22-23, obviously may not need too much of core and satellite, but assuming that person has a core and satellite, the core could be large cap funds. That's my view. However, there are people who say it should not be large cap funds, it should be large and mid cap funds and maybe some small cap, which means it should be a flexi cap fund. There are people who are of the view, for a young person it should be a flexi cap fund, because you are capturing everything. You are capturing mid cap, small cap, etc. Now I could take a view that it should only be large cap 60%, and the balance mid cap, small cap, IT fund, pharma fund, banking fund, whatever, should become part of the satellite and not of the core. But there are people who say let's say a person is 60 years of age, 65 years of age, then the core portfolio itself, let's say 60% is core portfolio, that should be a multi-asset fund, because that includes debt, equity. In case of a fund like a Nippon, it requires foreign equity and some gold. So this should be the core portfolio, and that should be 60%, and the balance 40% you should vary with gold fund, natural energy fund, or a small cap, mid cap, or some sector specific funds. Now all these are questions which you have to answer. How much should be the core, right? Core is the most important thing, which even your gym trainer will tell you. The core is very important. The core has to be very strong for the other part of the portfolio to perform well. So you decide how much should be the core. You have to decide whether core should be a flexi cap fund or a multi-asset fund. That largely depends on the goals, how far away the goals are, and do you want to create specific small portfolios for, say, child's education, child's marriage, own retirement, down payment for a house, getting married. I mean, if you're very young, then get your own marriage, right? It would be all those things. So depending on that, you will create different portfolios with different time frames, and therefore different core and different satellite. It is very painful to do that. So somebody like me believes my core has to be equity and my debt also is satellite. So I do have a core and satellite in my portfolio. I have invested in natural energy, in gold, gold mining, pharma, healthcare, small cap, mid cap, right? I have invested in all these kind of funds, in multi-asset fund, right? But for me, all this is satellite. The core is my equity portfolio. All my mutual fund investments for me is satellite. So how do I use the satellite? I look at a fund and I see, oh my God, this is given 50% return over the last 3 years, 50% XIRR or 50% CAGR, whatever. I said, this is too much, it cannot be true. So let me remove some money and put it into the core, right? This is how I use a core and satellite. You have to decide how you want to. So these are the questions you have to answer. How much should be the core and how much should be the satellite? It could be 50-50, it could be 60-40, it could be 70-30, depending on the client's comfort, right? So for a minute I'm assuming I'm talking to advisors. So this client decides that he wants to be more in core and less in satellite. That's fine. Some other client can decide that he wants to be largely not more than 40% in core, and the other 60% he wants to take chance with a greater variety of funds. So that could be a Taiwan fund, it could be a Japan fund, or it could be a single fund which is investing internationally, right? All those things could be your satellite funds. Sometimes the performance of some of the core the satellite funds is so good, it is outperforming the core by a mile. You can consider reducing the core and increasing that particular fund, because that is no longer a satellite, it is pulling the others, right? So suddenly from 10% of your portfolio, it has become 17% or 18% of your portfolio. It is simply performing very well. It could be a great signal for you to change your satellite also, saying, oh God, this fund is performing too well, so I will remove that and put it into a fund which is not doing well. I am not even suggesting any of these things. Each one you have to answer for yourself. So so I've given you the questions, and like Plato, that is my job, or my job is to ask you the questions, and for you have to sit down and figure out the answers. Use Google, use my blog, use my vlog, whatever, use anybody else's. I'm indifferent. Please, on the comment column, write down how you work with your core and satellite, so that tomorrow if I want to talk about more about core and satellite, which I might depending on the feedback, I'm doing all these value investing and core and satellite, etc., because I'm seeing too much of nonsense being thrown at you in on the YouTube channels. I have nothing against what they are doing, but you have to be careful, right? You have to be careful as to what you're watching, what you're listening. And I can tell you one thing, many YouTube videos are good. Many people don't know anything, but there are many people who know a lot. So you have to be careful how you pick up. Also, there is no single YouTuber whom I have found that all his videos are great or all her videos are great. So you have to pick and choose. You have to watch a lot, then decide which are the ones where you can trust more than the others. all this is your call. So I'm just opening up this topic for debate, saying, okay, here is core and satellite. How are you going to use it? What percentage for you is core? What is not? Will gold be part of your core, or will it will be satellite? Okay, all these questions have to be answered while you're investing. It's not that you have to stop everything and do answer these questions, but having answers to all these questions is good, and you build a better portfolio. Thank you.